Welcome back to the Grdina Classroom, a podcast to strengthen your faith, family, fitness, and finances. If this episode helps you at all, like it and share it. The ripple effect of transforming strong families starts with a simple share. 250 years ago, a ragtop group of farmers, tradesmen, and dreamers looked across an ocean at the most powerful military force on earth and decided freedom was worth the risk. This year, as our nation celebrated 250 years since that declaration, I want to take you back to one of the quietest, most powerful moments of that fight. See, it didn't happen on a battlefield. It happened on a man's knees in a grove of trees with nobody watching but God. Before I get into it, I want to tell you why this era of history means so much to me. Many of you do not know this, but I was a history major at Carroll University. And if there's one thing that degree drilled into me, it's this. You cannot understand where you're going until you understand where you came from. History isn't just dates and dead men. It's roots. And a tree with shallow roots gets knocked over by the first hard wind. When we actually know our history, the true version, not the sanitized one and not the cynical one, it gives us context. And that context is what gives a society, a country, or a man like you and me the footing to make decisions today that benefit tomorrow, instead of just reacting to whatever's loudest in the moment. That's exactly why a story like George Washington's belongs in our ears in 2026. 250 years later, it's not nostalgia, it's roots. Here's the story. In the winter of 1777 and 1778 was the lowest point of the Revolution. Washington's army was camped at Valley Forge, and the conditions were brutal. Men were starving, men were freezing, some had no shoes, and you could track the path of the army by the blood in the snow. Congress was broke, the British held Philadelphia, and by every earthly measure, the cause looked finished. It's in that setting that one of the most cherished stories in American history is set. According to the account passed down by a Quaker miller named Isaac Potts, who lived near the encampment, he was walking along a creek one afternoon when he heard a voice. He followed the sound quietly through the trees and found Washington's horse tied to a sapling. A few steps further, in a thicket, he saw the commander of the Continental Army on his knees, alone, tears on his face, pleading with what he called the God of the armies to intervene for a cause that seemed all but lost. Potts, by his own account, was so moved that he went home and told his wife that if George Washington was not a man walking with God, he didn't know who was. And that America, he now believed, would win. I want to be honest with you about something because I think honesty actually makes the story more powerful, not less. Historians have gone back and forth for 2 centuries on how much of the exact scene can be verified. The story wasn't published until decades after the war by a biographer named Mason Weems, and no eyewitnesses' accounts survive from the time itself. But here's what isn't in dispute. Washington's own letters are soaked in appeals to Providence. He wrote again and again about relying on a power far greater than muskets and cannons. Whether that one specific afternoon in the snow happened exactly how it's been told, the posture it describes, a leader on his knees, humbled, dependent, desperate for God to move, that was the true character of the man and the true character of that army. Sometimes a story becomes a legend because it captures something truer than a photograph ever could. That same spirit of appealing to heaven wasn't just a private moment for Washington. It became a flag. In October of 1775, Washington commissioned a small fleet of 6 schooners to intercept British supply ships in the waters of Boston. He needed an ensign, a flag his little navy could sail under, and his secretary, Colonel Joseph Reed, proposed something simple: a white field, a green pine tree standing tall in the middle, and above it, these words, an appeal to heaven. That phrase wasn't decoration. It actually came from the philosopher John Locke, who wrote that when a people have exhausted every lawful means of justice on earth and still face tyranny, they have the right to appeal to a higher court, to heaven itself. The pine tree was already a symbol New Englanders wore with pride, a defiant answer to a British law that claimed their own trees as the king's property. So he put together that flag, said something bold. We have no earthly king left to petition, so we're taking our case straight to God. That flag flew over Washington's cruisers, over Massachusetts naval vessels, even reportedly near Bunker Hill. Long before the Stars and Stripes, the Appeal to Heaven flag was one of the first banners of American resistance, and it was born from the same conviction that sent Washington to his knees in the snow. That conviction is exactly what brings me to a verse I've been praying for 5 years now. 2 Chronicles 7:14 says this, "If my people, which are called by my name, shall humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then I will hear from heaven and I will forgive their sin and I will heal their land." I first really wrestled with that verse through Mark Batterson's book, Full Circle, when I read it, and it hasn't let go of me since. Notice the order in that verse. It doesn't say God will heal the land if we vote a certain way or win a certain argument or get the culture to agree with us. It says, humble yourselves, pray, seek his face, turn from wickedness. The healing of a nation and God's economy starts on the inside of his own people, on our knees, before it ever shows up on the outside. Here's something practical from that book that changed my life. Batterson challenges the readers to actually pray that verse every single day at 7:14 in the morning. 7:14, tied right to the chapter and verse. It's such a simple thing, but for 5 years now, that's exactly what I've done. Every morning at 7:14, I stop and pray 2 Chronicles 7:14 over my family and over the country. And a few of my friends and I actually hold each other to it. We got a group text going through WhatsApp, and every morning at 7:14, somebody sends a reminder and we pray it together. Even though we're all in different houses, it's a small thing, but small, consistent obedience is exactly what verse is asking for. If you want to start something with the men in your own life, this is about as simple as it gets. Pick a time, pick a verse, and hold each other to. That's exactly the posture Washington modeled in that grove of trees. That's exactly what that pine tree flag was declaring over the water. We are appealing to heaven first. Now, here's what I don't want us to miss on the side of 250 years of freedom. Every liberty we take for granted, the freedom to worship at whatever church we choose or no church at all, the freedom to speak our minds, to raise our kids and our own convictions, to build a business, to vote, to gather with the men in this brotherhood and talk openly about God without fear. Every bit of this was purchased and is still being defended by men and women who put on a uniform and say yes to something bigger than their own comfort. From the frozen fields of Valley Forge to deployments happening right now on the other side of the world, our freedom has never been free. It has been very much guaranteed by the blood shed by those. It's been paid for. So if you're a veteran listening to this, or if your spouse, a parent, or child in uniform, I want to say thank you, plainly and sincerely. What you've sacrificed is the reason I can even record this episode. And I believe our nation has been blessed for 250 years, not because we've been perfect. We absolutely have not. But because generation after generation, there have been pockets of God's people who took 2 Chronicles 7:14 seriously. Churches that didn't just open their doors on Sunday, but they fed the hungry on Tuesday. Men and women who prayed over their cities before they ever tried to fix them. Ministries that showed up for the addict, the widow, the orphan, and the veteran who is struggling to find his footing back home. See, that outreach, that hidden faithfulness is a huge part of why this nation has been sustained through wars, depression, and division. God has blessed America because there has always been a remnant appealing to heaven on her behalf. So here's where I want to land this episode. If we want these freedoms to continue for our kids and grandkids, It's not going to come from a slogan or a hashtag. It comes from us personally doing three things: pray like Washington did, like that verse commands, not as a last resort, but as the first move. Serve your family because a nation is only as strong as a household inside it. And serve your community. Show up where there's a need instead of waiting for someone else to do it. For President John F. Kennedy said, "It is well as has ever been said. Ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country." Brothers, that's the assignment. 250 years in, the appeal to heaven is still open. Let's be the generation that keeps making it happen. Stay faithful, stay focused, and keep moving forward. I love you, Miles Fidelis.